Hello, everybody. Welcome, and thank you for being here. My name is Massimo Morin. I'm Head of Worldwide Business Development for Passengers Airlines. Today, we are going to be here and see building what is next in air travel. We are going to have this presentation to be split into two parts, in which we are going to have two of our dear customers, Air Canada and United Airlines, to present what they are building next in air travel and explaining a bit more about their journey in digital transformation. Before diving deep into the how, let's actually look at what digital transformation is all about. Digital transformation is the adoption of modern technology by companies to improve processes, engage with customers, and innovating at scale. Technology is only an enabler for digital transformation. A cultural change is also needed, and a culture of change, and a transformation and a transformational time is usually required. Never as before, in the past 2 years, we have been living through a transformational time. COVID-19 has been unfolding in front of our eyes, and the industry has been leveraging this moment to reinvent themselves. They are looking at how to take advantage of this opportunity to reinvent their business. Because this is what their customers are asking from them. Travelers and guests are asking travel and hospitality companies to reinvent themselves and adopt modern technology that they have been acquainted by companies like Amazon, that is delighting customers every day, wowing them through their journey, and innovating in their behalf. As Glenn Morgan, at a recent IATA conference, the CTO of the International Airline Group, said, COVID-19 has been the best chief digital innovation officer out there because it accelerated the digital transformation agenda by 5 or more years in less than 1. So, as at Amazon, AWS is how travel and hospitality companies are transforming themselves. Travel and hospitality comprises of airlines, airport, ground transportation, accommodation and lodging, restaurant, catering, and food services, cruise line, entertainment venues, and casinos, as well as travel and hospitality services and sellers. All these companies today are reinventing themselves with AWS. They are becoming more agile, reducing costs, wowing their customers, and innovating at scale. But how is this strategy unfolding? Well, the strategy for digital transformation is based on 2 core pillars. The first pillar is about improving customer experience. It's all about the customer. How to deliver the product, how to wow them, how to provide personalization, how to creating the connected experiences, how to improve the customer service. The second pillar is about improving operational efficiency. It's all about how to deliver the travel product and services to their customers. And this goes with operational efficiency, sustainability, and reducing IT costs. For doing this, you need to set a foundation on data. A solid foundation of data is where the strategy is holding for building a resilient business. Data. Data is at the core of any digital transformation journey. As John Murphy, the CIO of ATPCO, said in a recent interview, paraphrasing an IDC study, you should treat data like water and not like oil. Why? Because you should use data. As you're using oil as the lifeline of your business, you should make it available plentifully throughout your organization. You should not hoard it and store it away, but use it and reuse it, because it doesn't get consumed. And more you use it, you are able to get more insight out of it and develop more your business. So travel and hospitality companies want to become data-driven organizations. They want to put the data to be a core asset that they are leveraging across all their organization, both for customer engagement, for customer service, as well as for operation, and driving insights out of it. But how does this look like? Well, that is why I invited Air Canada and United here. The first and key piece of information, the most valuable data in travel and hospitality is actually loyalty data. Mel Crockett, here, the CIO of Air Canada, is going to tell us their journey in digital transformation and how they reacquired Aeroplan, their flagship loyalty program, and made the loyalty data to be the cornerstone of their digital transformation strategy. He's going to tell us how he's now being able to understand better their customer, reach them out in a more efficient way, and through the right message at the right time, to the right medium, to the right person, and explain to us how AWS helped them to do so. Then we'll follow up with Jason Birnbaum, the SVP Digital at United Airlines. Jason is going to tell us how they, at United, they harnessed the value of IoT data, both on the ground side and the air side of the airport, to improve operation, to increase operational efficiency, to get more value out of their assets, and at the same time, enhancing the customer experience. So, if this is the journey we are going to take together, I'm really curious to see what our guests are going to tell us. So without any further ado, let's buckle up, let's start this journey, and let us welcome Mel Crockett, the CIO of Air Canada, here on stage. Mel?
Thanks, Matthew. Well, I'm certainly pleased to be with you here today. I am here to talk about just one dimension of the journey we've started in Air Canada, the loyalty program. I'm speaking really on behalf of myself, but also on behalf of a gentleman named Mark Nazar, who's the business sponsor of what we've undertaken over the last few years. So I'll chat about that a bit. I don't want to diminish, when you think about customer experience, for me, a big part of it, of course, is the electronic, the digital experience. And another big part of it is, did your flight take off on time? Did your bags arrive where they were supposed to go? I think Jason's going to talk about some of that a little bit. And then in Air Canada, clearly, as CIO, that occupies a very large portion of my time. Today, I'll talk very much about loyalty, though. Massimo's absolutely right. It's the cornerstone of the start of our transformation. It's a cornerstone of how we continue to build sticky relationships with our customers and ultimately dig ourselves out of the hole we put ourselves in, like many other airlines. So I will talk a little bit about the history. Why did we undertake this? I'll talk a little bit about the transformation that we've come through. I'll make a general comment right now about Amazon Web Services. A few years ago, when we made the choice of who do we partner with and how do we go about this journey, we really had two giant criteria that we used to make that decision. One big part of the journey was we wanted a partner who understood how to support retail in a big way. Clearly, AWS knows how to do that. The other thing that was very important for us at the time was the ability to scale and to be able to scale quickly and in a very, very agile way. So that ended up to drive a lot of what you'll see today, some of the architecture that we've put in place over the last 3 years. And then I'll finish up a little bit about what the future looks like and just add a few comments verbally as we get to the end. Okay, first of all, the journey that we started. This tells you a little bit about Air Canada, a little bit about Aeroplan. We move, in 2019, we moved in excess of 55 million passengers. We are nowhere near that number today, but are slowly climbing. I was comparing some numbers with Jason. We're currently operating at about 40% of the capacity that we moved in 2019. So Canada very much still in recovery and coming up that curve fairly rapidly since September. In the middle, you'll see we are the preferred airline of 92% of travelers, and I'll talk a bit more about the characteristics of the travelers here in a second, and it just gives you a sense on the far right of the number of active members that we have and deal with every few days. This journey with Aeroplan has been complicated, and it's a very interesting journey. So the Aeroplan program was initiated in 1984. That became our primary catalyst at the time to create a level of stickiness with our customers. Started out relatively simple. In 2005, so between 2005 and 2008, Air Canada divested itself of Aeroplan. At that point, it was a survival matter. So the company had got itself into a level of financial distress and effectively sold off one of its more valuable assets, which was Aeroplan. Then in 2019, the decision was made to purchase it back. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. The key that drove that decision of bringing it back in-house was to collapse the channels, so try to bring together a unified customer experience, and you'll see a bit of that in the architecture, to own the customer data. So we did not, when Aeroplan was outsourced, we did not own the data, and we only had limited views into the data. And then, of course, we had a vision of the future that had significantly more partnerships that built upon what we saw as a critical facet of where we were headed towards. So where do you start? So in the years between starting at about 2017, 2016, even some early work, we started to get out to see what should the revised Aeroplan program look like. First of all, we consulted with a ton of customers. You can see that on the top left corner. We consulted with some key thinkers. You see that on the top right corner. And ultimately did a ton of interviews. I love the stat in the middle left. 11,610 total hours of surveys, and we tried to put that in a travel lexicon to help it make sense to you. All of that really came together very well on the bottom left, which is the face-to-face hours of interviews where we talked to people, long-term Aeroplan customers, some non-Aeroplan customers, and a variety of others, to gain a real sense of what they felt was important in a loyalty program and what they were looking for out of that loyalty program in Air Canada and in the revised Aeroplan. So then we took all that and we started to apply it to the population that we were interested in dealing with. So if you look on the far left, this is a good description of Canada. 42% of Canadians generally do not travel. So it's a group that travels very little or not at all. 54% of Canadians are traveling for visiting family, relatives, friends, leisure travel. So they're doing something generally other than work, or they mix work with it. And on the far right, 4% of Canadian travel is based strictly on business travel. Now that does not tie to the dollars involved. Business travel tends to be a little more lucrative than the other forms. But at the same time, that gives you a feel for how the population is split out. So what we wanted to do, if you start to focus on the two right-hand categories, we wanted to take advantage of the family dynamic. So picture a business traveler who's out quite a bit, growing tons of Aeroplan points, but didn't have an easy way to share that with his or her family. So that became a big driver to where we wanted to take things. Then we started to talk about an inclusive feel to the program versus an exclusive feel where you felt on a different level. So we wanted people to really feel a part of something larger. We wanted to, and I'll just keep moving along in time, simplify what was really very complex in an overall program structure, and we had built over the years too much complexity in the Aeroplan program. Hey, are there any Aeroplan members here today? If there are, just raise your hands. Not as many as the United crowd, that's for sure. Okay, so what did we have to do? So picture this, we brought the Aeroplan program back in, acquired a multi-billion-dollar business. We then had to reinvent that business from the ground up. So we started with a clean sheet and redesigned the Aeroplan program, making no use of the existing legacy assets. And then we tried to bring it in real time into the running airline seamlessly and without heartache, and that worked out fairly well actually in the end. So what did we end up doing? So we went from Some legacy technology on the left, server-based platform, some truly supplier-constrained functionality. So for us to make any sort of a change involved a contract change in many cases, and it involved a lot of discussion with different suppliers and in many cases negotiations. So we wanted to move towards a serverless platform, and we'll talk a bit more about this in a few minutes. We wanted to move towards an event-driven architecture, where events either driven by passengers, weather events, particular marketing events, any of those things could drive particular behaviors in our systems. And the systems we started with had nothing like that in any real way. Where do we want to get to? We want to get to cheaper, faster, better, and I'll kind of come back to that as I round out my slides and hand over to Jason. This is an eye chart. So I'll just very quickly orient you. On the very top of the slide are all of the channels that we interact with our customers on. And you can kind of see the standard ones, aircanada.com, mobile app, and then if you work to the right, you can also see telephony, and you've got the contact centers and employees, which are also members of Aeroplan in most cases. Then in the middle, the two center items, the two center horizontals, I'll talk about a bit. That's our digital backend as a service. And we break it up into two kind of key elements. One is the front-facing services that provide both scale and reactivity to the clients. So this is things like making information easily accessible, making it accessible across the globe, and making it update in near real time. So some very cool capabilities there. Then in our back end, what we end up with are all the more complicated services that end up servicing and interacting with the systems in our back end. So picture in an airline, of course, you've got your passenger service systems, booking engines, all those kinds of things, as well as our GDS connections with our external partners. Then on the very bottom, everything else that it connects to and works smoothly with. So in a simple layered architecture, on the top are the clients. In the middle is the glue that stitches together to the bottom, which are the key back-end services. And what you'll see, and you can see some of this in the writing, is those middle two areas are built for us almost exclusively on Amazon Web Services. So where did we go? We started with, rather than biting it all off in one single quick journey, we started with a mobile app, and then we moved towards the Aeroplan channels, aircanada.com, and then we moved all the way up to partner integrations, which is, we're right in the middle of quite a few of those right now. So the first piece, Mobile 3 we call it internally, is the Air Canada mobile app. And we titled this From Pebble to Boulder. It was really a very simple implementation, and then we layered on more and more complexity over time. So we wanted to get it out, get it stable, and then bring in more and more functionality, both on feedback from customers, but also based on our own understanding from that customer research we did early on in the program. What you can see on if you just kind of move to the right, we use GraphQL and effectively AppSync to allow us to smartly interact with many of the Amazon Web Services. That you'll see some of them that are on there. And I won't get into any specific service. One of the things that we've taken great advantage of with Amazon is that we've been able to, as they've continuously evolved their services, we've been able to take advantage of the ones that make the most sense for us and the most sense for our clients. And we've been able to do that in near real time as we evolve these platforms. So what did we end up with? We also rolled up and had to tie into a new reservation system that rolled out in November of 2019. So picture we're evolving our loyalty systems and our front-end systems for our clients, including the mobile app. And then we're changing at the same time in parallel our passenger service system in the back end, moving towards a fundamentally different platform than what we had before. Ours was 20 years old, and we moved on to the Amadeus Altéa platform. So then the second step that we undertook was really to move towards web. And you can kind of see on the right-hand side, nothing's really changed. So we're effectively coming through a different service, AppSync, to be able to connect into our back-end web services. And the beauty of that is we built it for mobile, Then we were able to, with fairly minor extension, put it into our web channels. And we continue to have a mixed modern and legacy web environment that we're slowly deprecating the legacy web and moving ourselves fully into this new architecture. So what did it bring us in? You'll see on the very bottom, cloud elastic hosting, very, very scalable, and has proven to be extremely helpful as we hit marketing events and as we hit some of the unexpected hits on our mobile and our web channels coming through the early stages of the pandemic. It is a very rich set of tools, and I would say we're just tapping into a relatively small percentage of what's offered out of Amazon Web Services. So you put these two together, and then all of a sudden we had the requirement for, and you can see in the center there, Amazon Cognito, which allows us to create a common user experience across multiple platforms. So it really starts to stitch together the architecture in a way that creates a consistent look, feel, and information flow across whatever channel the person decides to come in on. And for those who've traveled a lot recently, it is very common for somebody to buy their ticket online on a web, then to check in on mobile, and then ask for text updates if anything changes along their way. That's a very common use case that we see from passengers, and it's one that we're now able to support easily through some of the offerings from Amazon and our own build. So then you start to build it together and add more to it. And I won't get into these blocks, but what you start to see, and I won't read out the text on the right, but I'll just highlight a couple of items. We started with the very basic building blocks. We used mobile as a means to provide very basic services and simple AWS implementation. We made the choice to go with web next to expand the offering to clients. The goal was get some realized value out in front of clients that made a lot of sense. And then it allowed us to position with more and more building blocks from Amazon to start to bite off tighter integrations and more rich integrations with our partners from the loyalty program. So in parallel with all of this build, we were building out the revised loyalty program, which became fundamental to the interfaces that you see at the very top. Suddenly, we were able to offer our passengers the ability to buy a flight in points or dollars or any mixture thereof. So that became a key facet. That flexibility was a key facet of the program as we went forward. We were able to allow passengers to group together their families in groups to share points amongst each other. So you could plan a family event, even though you were primarily taking advantage of the large points offered by a single member of that family. So all sorts of interesting functionality became possible because of the building blocks that we were able to tap into on the back end. So where did we get to? Cheaper, better, faster. Sometimes cheaper has a negative connotation to it, actually, but I'll dwell on the positive here today. The cost-efficient building model, so for us, part of what was very, very difficult in our legacy systems is we ended up over-provisioning. We had a lot of on-premise systems. We ended up over-provisioning on those on-premise systems to give us the freedom and the ability to scale up once we saw things were getting too busy. Then inevitably, we hit a limit, and then we had to throttle our interactions with the customers. With our change that we just put in place, not only can we throttle up as we are required to, and we talk a bit about the serverless platform, we're also able to do it in a way that allows us to only pay for what we're using. So fairly significant change from the past. And these changes that we're doing, of course, create a very fast agile enablement for new functionality. And of course, we've realized a very reliable implementation, although we did have one outage last week, I noted, and I'm sure many of you felt through some of the Amazon Web Services. So our stability, though, compared to historical, has been rock solid, absolutely rock solid. And the challenges we've had with any sort of stability issues are the ones where we built ourselves, where we continue to refine what we're doing. So it really has become cheaper, better, and faster, and we've started to control the customer experience, going faster towards exactly what the customers want and using this as a primary differentiator in our customer experience. So what is the new Aeroplan, and what are the results that we've started to achieve? So today, an Aeroplan member can book and travel, can book any seat on any flight using any combination of points and dollars. So it's a fairly significant change from what was offered in 2018 when we did the original purchase, 2019 when we did the original purchase of the Aeroplan program back. We can cover fully on a ticket all fuel surcharges by points. So that allows for a family or an individual to travel completely on points and not have to put any of their own money into it. We've adopted flexible policies that have allowed us to basically service a very large and disparate clientele. And I won't just keep going. The micro redemptions on the bottom are very, very interesting. So as we build out the architecture and we build out the services with our partners, and picture Starbucks, Liquor Control Board of Ontario was another partnership we announced, and of course we're partners with Uber as well. So we like to talk about with Aeroplan, you're able to go out and enjoy a nice evening with some alcohol purchased at the LCBO using your points. You can take an Uber to get yourself back home, and then you can wake up in the morning with a Starbucks coffee, all of that bought with Aeroplan points, which became a bit of a tagline for our Christmas sales. So what do you see? 27% higher margin in payment selections, and that has worked out very well for us, especially as we've come through the pandemic. You can see the upsells, and you can see the website conversions. These are significant improvements. On the far right, you see almost a 1/3 drop in the average handle time. That is significantly ahead of where we thought we would be in all of this, trying to compete with obviously some companies that are rocket fast in their interactions with others. So it's been quite a shift as we've come along. Okay, I will turn over to Jason. Good.
Thank you, Mel.
Good job.
Very insightful. I've seen right now, it's all about the customer. It's always all about the customer. How you engage the customer, how you deliver services, how you preempt what they want, and how you facilitate and help them to enjoy the travel product that you're offering. Well, we continue our journey because we also want to see how we deliver the travel product. So right now, we are going to have Jason Birnbaum on stage. He's going to tell us how United Airlines is delivering excellence in customer service as well in operational efficiency. Jason, please take it away.
Thank you. So if I've learned anything, make your sessions mandatory, and you get a good turnout. Thank you, Mel. I thought that was great, and I think in Massimo, you said it all in the sense that the customers are the center of everything we do, and we know that what drives a lot of our NPS is many things, but one of the most important things is actually driving a good operation. And so I want to spend some time talking about what's happening with AWS in our operation. And I'm going to pick a very specific example, but I am going to highlight a lot of the things that are going on because it's very exciting, the transformation we are going through right now. If you're sitting in this room, what I'm about to tell you is probably not a surprise, but it has been a tough 2 years to be part of really the travel, transportation, the hospitality industry as a whole, and the airline. It was really rough. We saw our revenue drop by 90% at one point, and I think it's coming back up. I think you mentioned you were at in the 40s. I think we're probably closer to the 70s. We actually lost employees to the virus. We saw some people just decide they didn't want to work anymore or had to opt out. We've seen unruly passengers. Our flight attendants are dealing with unbelievable issues during flight right now with masks We're seeing government policies change constantly. It's been tough. But what I'm really excited about and what I really wanted to share with everybody today is what United is doing and how they're embracing this post-pandemic world. And we really sort of engaged some things that truly make me feel very proud to be part of United. First is a commitment to sustainability. We've announced that by 2050, we want to be a carbon neutral airline. And we're doing it not with carbon offsets, but with true sustainability with biojet fuel. Diversity, equity, inclusion has become a pillar of who we are. In the digital technology organization, we've coined a phrase, innovation, diversity drives innovation. Sorry, I should remember what that means. So inclusion propels innovation. Excuse me, I'm sorry about that. And we recently announced that our Aviate program is committed to hire 50% women and people of color. We're engaging our workforce with amazing tools, but we're also helping them to engage in how we build them. And we've built a large CX, we call it user experience organization, to work hand in hand with our employees to engage them in how these tools are going to be built. And then we've created a lot of customer-first experiences, whether it's our Travel Ready Center, Agent on Demand. We really feel like we're innovating in the customer arena. But that wasn't enough. We looked out on the horizon and said, this is also an opportunity to take the lead. And if you've read in the newspaper, seen the headlines, we've announced a couple of very ambitious, bold, audacious goals. We call it United Next. We've committed to purchase 270 new aircraft, along with while saving $2 billion in our operation, which is pretty amazing if you think about 270 new aircraft, that many more passengers, but yet we don't have any new gates, really, a few new gates. The runways are about the same, the airports are about the same size, and so how are we going to do that? And we realized that technology really needed to take the lead. And we focused on 4 big pillars around technology. We needed to scale, and scale big. We needed to be more reliable. If you think about it, an outage that may have happened a few years ago, an issue that we may have seen a few years ago, that may have disrupted a few travelers. But if you multiply the number of passengers, the number of planes, even the smallest of outages can cause just a tremendous disruption. We got to be more efficient. We got to deliver more tools faster. And then we just have to be good at driving customer excellence. We've made a commitment that 100% of all the activities that you can do need to be able to be done on our mobile or .com platforms. So we partnered with AWS, and we really started thinking about how to transform almost everything we were going to do. And these are just a couple of our examples. With baggage, we looked at our entire baggage platform and started asking ourselves, well, if you get separated from your bags, how do we reconnect you before you even know your bag is separated? And we built a platform on AWS that's constantly monitoring what's happening with your bag as well as with your itinerary. And it thinks and uses some AI to figure out, hey, how do I get you reconnected to your bag? Maybe the bag flies direct while you're taking a connection, but the bag is there to meet you. We looked at our signage and said we can do better with our signage and used a platform in AWS to reimagine the kind of information we're delivering to customers, the kind of wayfinding we can provide, just in order to make sure that you're able to get to your journey and get on your way. And then across our operation, we've recently launched a platform that allowed us to keep everybody on the same page in real time, not only our United Airlines operations, but all of our Express partners as well. And so everyone's on the same platform, can see all the data in real time as fast as it's happening. But what I wanted to talk about is, and these are all very exciting, and I'm very proud of all of these things that we're doing, but I want to focus in on one thing that you may not have expected me to talk about today. And that's our ground service equipment, which doesn't sound all that exciting right when you start. But it does pose a really interesting, someone likes it, there you go. Thank you, there it is. So what is the problem with ground service equipment? Well, first of all, there's a lot of it. We have 36,000 assets, and people spend a lot of time looking for it. If you look out the plane and you see all those tugs moving around and all the baggage equipment moving around, people just don't know where it is. And as a result, we have a lot of money tied up in equipment that isn't being used and can be used more efficiently and can be used more effectively as we go. And of course, if the equipment isn't in the right place, then we can't service our customer. If the tug isn't there to pull the plane out, then your plane is delayed. If the baggage cart isn't there to get the baggage off the plane, then your bags are late to get to the baggage claim. So this is not just an asset, a labor efficiency, and an equipment story. This is a customer service story. And so we put our minds to it, and and they didn't let me put the slide in the deck, but we coined a phrase we called "Dude, where's my tug?" Which was sort of our rally cry around we've got to make it easier to find our equipment, to use our equipment, to leverage our equipment. And so we introduced the Intelligent Airport. It started back in 2019 before the pandemic, and we were thinking about it. But when the pandemic hit, we said, this is our moment. We have to have this stuff in place if we're going to be able to come back stronger and be able to deal with the growth that we're going to see in the future. And so when you think about our world, we have over 300 airports we fly at. Again, with all that equipment, we had to do something, and we leveraged and partnered with AWS to figure out how to do this. We started with some sensors, and the idea was if you're going to have an intelligent airport, you got to know where all of your assets are. You got to know where they're located, the last time it was seen, what kind of asset it is, who made it, and is it in motion or not or parked. But that was just the first step. The real excitement started to happen when you started to see all of those pieces fit together. And we started to ask ourselves a lot more interesting questions, like, is the route that piece of equipment taking the best route it could go? And are the assets located in the right place? We have diversions when planes are supposed to go to one airport and then they have to go to another. And the question we always ask ourselves is there equipment at that airport to get those passengers off that plane? And a lot of times the answer is no, which means those passengers have to stay on that plane. And so we also can look at maintenance schedules, we can look at costs, we can look at all kinds of different opportunities, but it really started with putting sensors on everything. And the example I like to use in this case, and I think of it in terms of an Amazon example, of an Alexa and a smart home. You have your Alexa, which is your intelligent home engine, but then you get a smart doorbell, and you get a smart lock, and all of a sudden you can start to put some more powerful questions to it, like, gosh, hey, when I walk in the house, can you turn on the light? And if you have a smart light switch and you have Alexa, you can tell it to do that, and it will do that. And that was the kind of thinking we wanted to empower our folks at the airports with. Like, where are the tugs? Do we have a gate available? Where is catering? These are all questions that we hear all the time. What's the fuel level? Are we ready for that plane? So when that plane is taxiing to the gate, is all the equipment there to meet it? So how did AWS help us drive this initiative? Well, we start with the AWS IoT Core, and native services are at the heart of what we're doing with the Intelligent Airport. This connects the ground service equipment to the cloud, allows our network of assets across all of our airports to interact and essentially communicate with each other. It powers what we call, and I'll show it to you in a second, what is our GSE 360 app. Plus, AWS really helped us out when it came to creating the beacons that you see here and install onto each of our pieces of equipment, giving us onboard diagnostics and the GPS signal. So this is what the Intelligent Airport is. As you can see, we have at the top left our data scientists and our build the models in SageMaker. At the airport, on the edge, we consume that data, especially video data, which has a lot. It's just enormous amounts of data. It's computed there and then sent into our Intelligent Airport platform, which really does three things. Ingest this data at a high rate of speed. It enhances this data with other information about the flight, about what's happening, It puts some intelligence around the data, makes it usable, and then delivers it to where it's needed. In this case, we have it listed as a graph SQL, but it could be any number of places. It could be to any mobile device. It could change a sign in the airport. So we've really, with AWS's help, been able to lay out a foundation and a platform that enables us to start with the sensors, but can do really amazing things. So this is an example of the GSE 360 app. It's one of my favorites. Just you see the little dots moving around. I guess it's not so exciting from as much as I like it, but it gives you the visual of what's happening at an airport. And you can see as we light up all of those sensors, we get a sense of what's happening in there. And this is a simple example of the pebble, if you will, to Mel's example, of giving people the ability to see where their equipment is and start to use it. This was not the end game. We knew that this was not the killer app that was going to change everything, but it was going to get people to think about how they can use these kind of tools. And with this alliance with AWS, which they provided a lot, and I want to make sure that I take a minute to say that they provided us leads to help us do this. They connected us with other build partners. They helped us. The sensors, we had started down a journey to build our own sensors, and we had gotten really, really far down the road, and we ran into a little snag when we went to certify them to be on the plane and realized it was going to take us a few years for the FAA to sign off on these sensors to be on the plane. So we had to pivot, and we had to pivot pretty hard. And AWS was able to help us find the right manufacturer and the right sensors that will work with the IoT core, as well as they helped us stand up the SageMaker Foundation that we ultimately deployed. And it's a pretty impressive story. We spent less than $10 million to do this, and we deployed over 20,000 sensors, which is about between $15 and $150 a sensor, which shows you that most of the money that we spent was spent on the sensors. The actual building of the platform wasn't that much. We're processing about 28, at least 20, I think it's probably more now, 28 gigabytes per minute, which is like 7 high-def movies every minute are broadcast up or processed through this. And it took us less than 24 months from the time we started. So as we think about that and this program and how impactful it was, I would take a minute, too, to talk about what has it meant to the operation and ultimately to our customers. It saved us $120 million in GSE and assets that we didn't need to buy. $120 million. As I said, we've got 20,000 assets tagged. We've seen a reduction in emissions of our GSE of 5 to 7%, which is not a big part, but a part of our goal for sustainability. Now with good maintenance, with the ability to get them on efficient routes, we're seeing a reduction in emissions. And we saved 1.3 million personnel hours, and that's of people looking for this equipment. Just getting people to find the equipment faster is saving 1.3 million hours of people's time. And you think about what that's going to mean when we're a lot bigger, we're adding these planes. We need those people to be actually unloading planes and helping passengers get on the way. But we're not going to stop there. So that talks about sort of what's happening on the apron, what's happening on the ramp outside of the airport. But we also are taking the same platform and trying to understand how we can use it inside the airport as well. And this is one example of what's happening in Newark. And this is using geofences and artificial intelligence along with video analytics to understand how busy our lobbies are. And if anyone's been to Newark, they know it's very busy. And it's actually particularly challenging because it has multiple levels too. So we are using this or implementing this in a way that allows us to understand where the people are getting stuck, where their lines are forming, and then how we're able to dispatch staff or actually have people get redirected through signage or potentially pushing them messages to tell them how to get to the fastest way. This is a faster, better, and more customer-centric journey when you can walk into the airport and be told, hey, you want to take the shortest line, if you want to move over here, this is the best way to do it. So other examples of both using this computer vision, but also we imagine that there will be dashboards for the station managers to have. Even someone in headquarters can look and see what's happening in a particular lobby. And we'll start to generate data and start generating information around what's going on in the lobby. And you could imagine this can be applied at the lobby, can be applied at the gates, can be applied anywhere that people are starting to congregate. This could be the ability to provide real-time feedback to the operation as to what's happening and then allow them to get better and better. Another example, this actually is going to be going live in December. But this is, so it's actually, we're capturing the data now. We're going to start turning the data over to the TSA starting in December. This is us looking at actual wait times in Newark using this platform. And we do two things. We've got an analytics platform where we can really look. This is CloudWatch dashboard that enables us to see what's happening sort of by the minute and understand what's happening, but also enable us to create signs so that we can direct customers where they want to go. And so, again, this is built on the platform that we talked about. Now we're starting on our journey to figure out how to leverage this unbelievable capability that we've created for more and more things. So in summary, look, this has been a great partnership. Obviously, between UAL and AWS, we're well in presence here today, and we're here to learn and continue to grow our relationship. Some things to think about. One is, and we talk about build your core platform. We focused on one very specific use case, GSE, but now we're seeing all the other opportunities that we can do to unleash this capability. Safer, more efficient operations, it's what we're trying to do. And that equals better experiences. If we can have cost savings and quality experiences, we will drive our net promoter score. I think you mentioned data's water, not oil. I think this is an example where we are using the data and unleashing the data in real time. We're not storing it in a database. We're directing it to where it needs to go like a hose, trying to make sure that we use this data in motion to drive real-time decisions. And look, the ultimate goal is that we create a great experience for our customers. And we do that by helping them orchestrate what's happening when they get to the airport, when they arrive, so that their journey, they can get through the airport, get on their way, and get to where they're going. So with that, I will hand it back. Thank you very much. I will hand it back to Massimo.
Thank you, Jason. Well done. Thanks. So, thank you, Jason. Very fascinating story. And I think we touched the digital transformation essence right here. The two examples we brought to life today are actually what digital transformation is all about. How to delight your customer with operational excellence. And bringing these two things together, innovating in behalf of your customers. So, but as any journey, also this journey came to an end. We have seen Air Canada and United here on stage presenting examples of how they are transforming themselves. These are only two of our customers and two examples of how they are doing so. If you think about it, next time it could be you here on stage telling your story on how you are reinventing your business, how you are transforming the way that you are operating, how you are delighting the customer, or how you are achieving operational excellences. If that is one objective you are striving to, please connect with us. We will be very happy. We will be delighted to bring you on stage and make you the hero of the day, as we did with United and Air Canada. So, I wanted to thank you, all of you, for being here. It has been a fascinating journey, a fascinating story. We are going to have our survey, so please take the survey. We love 5 stars. If you have more spare stars, put more there. These are not only the 2 sessions about travel and hospitality we are having. There are 5 chat talks in which we will dive deep with our technology expert. We have Srihari Totapalli here, our tech leader, that will look in detail on the architecture that we implemented here, and it will be open for any question you might have. Again, thank you for being here. I'm Massimo Morin, Head of Worldwide Business Development for Passengers Airline. Thank you again, and good night.